Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, CesarRespino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, CesarRespino, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Angela Bradford. Hey, Angela, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for being here. So let me give the listeners a little bit of your background, and we can dive into that. You have been in World Financial Group for 5 years, and you're coming from the trucking industry, and now a senior marketer director with that firm, expanding across Canada and the United States. So besides all of that, I want to know more about who are you, where were you born, and what are some of your upbringing stories that you have?
Sure. So I was born in Alberta, Canada, and I was actually homeschooled. So a little bit of my upbringing. I was homeschooled my entire life, except 3 months I went to a Christian school.
Okay.
So I grew up a little bit, I don't know if the right word is by myself. I'm an introvert. So now I'm in a very extroverted industry, which is interesting.
Right.
And, I learned the value of hard work at a very young age. My dad worked a lot, and then we worked a lot as kids. So that was something that I'm super grateful for, is the upbringing that I had as far as learning the value of hard work and learning how to look after the books and learning the value of running a business and all of that kind of stuff from the age of like 6 and 7. I remember doing all of the above. So kind of my upbringing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so let me ask you this. A lot of times, when we are growing up, like we always think about, when I grow up, I want to be this person, or I want to be that, or I have a dream, right? What was your dream? Or what were some of the aspirations that you had growing up?
Yes, for sure. So some of my aspirations growing up was I wanted to actually be a vet for a little while. And then I realized that in veterinarian station, we have to put animals down. And that first broke my heart. So I turned away from that. And then I wanted to get into horse training and become a professional horse trainer and have a world-class horse training facility. And so I kind of wanted to get into that. And I did get into that for a while. I trained horses professionally for about 17 years, actually, and they took me to 3 different continents. So I went down that road for a little while. Yeah,
definitely. And back in 2019, you were diagnosed with MS, right? So how was that? Because a lot of people go through a lot of different challenges, and we all have different challenges from different points of view, right? And some might be medical conditions, some might be just in the head. It could be different things. How was that experience for you? Dealing with that, and what were some of the things that you had to do to really overcome the challenge?
That's a great question. How did I deal with it? Well, I try to look at the positive in everything. So one of the positives right away was I had critical illness insurance, and that paid me out for the MS, which has helped a lot financially. So that was definitely a positive I looked at right away. I also realized that the more challenges we are given, the more blessings we can receive. So if we can go through the challenges that we're given, God never gives us anything that we don't have the strength to handle. So the reason challenges are brought into our life to see if we're worthy of the blessings on the other side. So while this is not something that I would wish on anybody, part of it excites me in the fact that someone higher above believes that I was strong enough to take it, which also means that I'm strong enough to take the blessings that have come out of it, such as being on the show and talking to you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. You know what? I gotta tell you, that's amazing, because a lot of times we tend to look at the challenges or whatever we're going through as a negative connotation, and we forget that there's always some sort of positive, and as you mentioned, a blessing, right? And so being grateful for just really anything. And I always tell people, let's just be grateful for the fact that you're still breathing, you're still alive, even if your heart was broken, even if you have some sort of medical condition. the fact that you're still breathing and you're still watching us right now and listening to this, that means that there's still an opportunity for you to make a difference. A lot of people tend to give up so fast, right? And don't continue to push forward. So having that said, like what would be some of your advices when you come down to something like this, where you're facing something major, and people get into their heads where like, you know what, that's it. I'm throwing in the towel. Like, how do you not do that, right?
For sure. So a couple things, I guess, tangible. First of all, one thing that was told me right at the beginning, which really helped me a lot, is it's okay to have a down day. So if you're looking at people like, that are going through stuff and they're always positive. Yeah, we mostly are, but we have down days. So first of all, it's okay to have that down day. It's okay to cry and eat your ice cream and then get back off the floor and get back to work. So that's one step that I think really helps a lot, is just that it's okay to have the down days. You can't always be super positive. And then on the other side, realizing that there's always someone, for me, that helps. There's always someone that's worse off than me. Like you said, hey, I'm getting out of bed in the morning, I can breathe. Well, I have a hard time walking sometimes. There's people that have no legs. So, I could be grateful for what I have as opposed to looking at what I don't have. So in those times of challenges, and I'm sure lots of your listeners have a lot going on, and, just step into the fact that there's someone out there with something worse, and that helps me a lot. And or looking at, my faith is huge. So, if you have a faith, if you're listening to this and you have a faith, step into that and really, really embrace that, and it'll get stronger in the challenges, definitely 100% of the time.
Yeah, yeah. I love the fact that you mentioned, be grateful for what you do have, and sometimes we tend to focus on the things that we don't have, right? And that's kind of like 95% of the population are always thinking about, I don't have this, I don't have the car, I don't have the money, I don't have the house, I don't have the job. It's always like that I don't have. And the way the mind works in the unconscious mind is what we focus upon will expand. And so you saying I don't have this, you're pretty much telling the universe or God that you don't have that and you want more of that, right? You're kind of attracting that, right? It's that law of attraction to an extent.
100%.
So let's talk about so you're in the trucking industry, right? Which is pretty awesome. Senior marketing, that's actually kind of cool, because I actually my background is in the logistics industry. So I was working for a freight forwarder and worldwide freight forwarder, and did a lot of that. Cool. And then in transportation and warehousing and distribution. So that's kind of cool that you have that. Let's talk about that experience. Some people say, step out of your 9 to 5 per se, right? And some people say, well, I like what I'm doing and I'm still going to do something on the side. I guess my biggest takeaway that I want to take from this is that you can do both, right? And it seems like you're balancing both. And so I want to talk about that experience with you.
Sure. So I've been through a lot of different, I guess, careers. Yeah. So I was a long haul trucker, part-time and full-time, for about 14 years. So I've been to every state but Rhode Island and Maine driving a truck, which as a young female, when I started, I was like 20 running over the highway. So, it was a different experience, I'm sure, than a lot of people would have had. But one thing, like I said, you can do anything you set your mind to. And that's 100% something I believe in, and I believe for anybody. So, I was just able, I just wanted to see the road. And so I got into trucking, really had no experience, started hitting the highway. It was kind of scary. Glad there was no accidents. But, I made it through. And then from there, we transitioned into World Financial Group, which of course is the financial services industry. So completely different once again. And, and it's been highly awesome, the switch. So like I said, you can do anything you put your mind to. And I think too many people put themselves in boxes, or let other people put them in boxes of what they can and cannot do. And I just want to be part of the proof that, you can do whatever you set your mind to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And even just maybe going from a driving a truck to becoming the senior marketing director, how do you, some people get stuck in the same position, right? And so was that a determination? Was that perseverance? What was it that said, okay, I'm doing this now and I'm going to kind of go up the ladder into what you're doing now? How did that play out for you?
For sure. So I just I just believe in taking opportunities whenever they happen. So an opportunity opened itself to get into the financial industry at part-time. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I might as well learn. I might as well see where it goes. And then what made me want to transition was seeing the need that was out there and the difference that we could make with our company. And trucking is great. We need truckers, obviously, but I didn't feel like I was able to make a huge impact in the world the same way that I was with WFG. And so transitioning just made a lot of sense to me. And I will be forever grateful to my parents, because I believe while they don't understand half the stuff I do, they have always poured belief into me that there's nothing that I can't do. And I think anyone just, if you can believe in yourself, you can transition from anything to anything. If you put in the work and are coachable and listen to people that have done it and just do what they tell you to do.
Right. And knowing a little bit about WFG, I'm also a licensed agent, so I'm all over the place. So I'm a licensed agent with WFG as well. When you look at that model, that business model is essentially your own business, right? It's essentially you have your own business. And so I guess from your experience and even being in that industry, what is your advice when people want to step into like being an entrepreneur or step into having your own business? Because just like WFG, if you're not working it or you're not doing the things you have to do, just like in any other business, is not going to give you the results you're hoping for, right? So what have 100%. Been some of your biggest lessons that you have learned from that journey that you definitely would tell people you need to apply this if you're looking to get into your own business?
Definitely. Consistency is number one. Consistency and self-discipline. If you're an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you need to set hours of operation and you need to stick to your hours of operation. Kind of like picturing if you had a McDonald's and your McDonald's is open from 9 to 5, and then one day you just decide to shut it. And then, you do that another time. And how long is your McDonald's going to stay open if the customers never know when it's going to be open or it's going to be closed? So setting hours of operation. And then one thing that's really changed my business is becoming completely obsessed with personally developing yourself, because we attract who we are, not what we want. And, that's something that I was told 4 years ago and I have taken to heart. And so I have started down a journey of reading and audio and being around people that you want to be like, not people you don't want to be like, and just really empowering yourself to become the best version of yourself, because as you grow, your business will grow because you'll attract higher quality people into your life. And through that, that's what grows the business. So 2 things, self-discipline and obsessive personal development, I believe is really essential to becoming an entrepreneur in any field.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to tell you, I love that the becoming very obsessed with personal development, and you can see it in many different aspects, right? Like even listening to this podcast, right? Listen to more of this type of podcast, reading, writing, networking. You've part of a community too, right? RA Tech community. Right.
Yes.
And so that's another one where, you're doing a lot of networking, you're with different people and all that stuff. So one of the things that I always tell people is that it's not just working on yourself. Through that journey, like you said, you're attracting this different kind of people into your business or into your life. The average 5, the people you hang around with, right? That's so critical. What is your take on that?
Oh man, that is so essential. Like recently I had the opportunity to spend some time with John Maxwell and 100 of the world leaders here in Florida. And, the reason I was willing to pay to fly down to do all the things to be there is because I want to up my associations. And I thought there's no way better to up them than to be around some of the top leadership in our culture and in our world. So yes, 100% who you're around determines so much about you. And I wish people would really start to take this to heart, because if you really look at the average of the 5 people you hang out with, it will determine your destiny. And sometimes you just go through seasons where you're with some people and they're great. And then sometimes you have to up it and you have to get uncomfortable. You have to be around people that make you uncomfortable. Like where I was at this last week, they were writing $100 million checks for charity. And I realized that I needed to up my associations. Yeah. And that just made me go, wow, I'm getting started, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be. Right. And that was awesome for me.
Yeah. So what do you tell people when they tell you, well, I want to go to that event, but I don't have the money to go to that event, or I don't have the money to fly, or I don't have the money to, like, a lot of times we put the excuse of the money, or we might put the excuse of, well, I don't have no one to take care of the kids, or this whole weekend, right? Like, how do you, what's your advice to those people that you're kind of on the fence line and you're giving yourself excuses not to take action, right? To actually follow through and go through it with this journey?
That is such a great question. Actually, so from here, I'm going down to a Dr. Joe Dispenza workshop. And one of my friends says, I
Oh,
really
nice.
need to go. And
Yeah.
she said, I really need to go. She says, but I can't afford it. I got credit card debt. So this has just happened.
Yeah.
And I said to her, if you can't afford to go, you can't afford not to go. So if money becomes your excuse, that also needs to be your reason. Because if you keep thinking like a broke person, you're going to continue to be a broke person. If you think like a wealthy person, you're going to start to actually become a wealthy person. So our thinking determines our life, not our life determines our thinking. So if someone wants a better life, they need to start thinking like someone that has a life they want, and do what someone that has a life they want does. And they figure out a reason. And I see so many people with kids figure out amazing ways to help their kids, help them build their business and help them become, get them into that, having vision boards with your kids and all of that kind of stuff, that you can start to bring your kids into the journey. And instead of using them for excuses, you can use them for reasons to be able to build a better life for your whole family.
Yeah. I love that this one. Our thinking determines our life. Our life does not determine our thinking. I'm definitely gonna use that. I really love that, and that's pretty amazing. Talk about networking. You're definitely networking from last week to this week, and being around these people. That's super amazing to be able to do that. If people wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
Probably the best place would be Instagram. Instagram, yeah, _Angela_Bradford. Check me out on there for sure. Would love to connect. DM me. I do get back to everybody, and it's a great platform to be able to connect and build relationships and make a difference in this world, because that's why I believe we're put here.
Yeah, definitely. One of your messages, and I want you to elaborate more on this, is that you were capable of so much more than you can imagine, and that you have a purpose being here. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. So one thing that the MS has really taught me is to really step into why I'm on this earth, and not trying to get too deep, but my parents called me Angela, which means God's messenger. And that's why they called me Angela. So I know I'm here for a purpose, and I know that God put me here to make an impact in this world. And I don't know what it all is. I'm starting to get a glimpse of what it could be, but man, just trying to allow things to happen and follow the path that I'm put on, and the path that we're all put on, because we're all on this earth for a purpose. Every one of us, or we wouldn't be here. So we all have a purpose. Might be little, might be big. You never know what it is until till the final day, kind of thing. But there is a purpose, and that's just something that I definitely strongly believe in. And I believe that the grace and the strength is there for every day, as long as you're following your purpose.
Yeah. In terms of just the journey you've taken, and like you said, following this purpose, like it seems like you have a lot of positivity. There's a lot of great vibe coming out of you, right? What are the things that you do? Tony Robbins refers to them as rituals. What are the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, habits that kind of put you in this state of mind?
I am a very habited person. So I get up at 4:20 every morning.
Okay.
And I do some meditation, and I do affirmations, and I read my goals, and I read my future goals, and I do reading and audio, and I do that every morning. And I haven't missed that for years. And to me, that's a huge part of it. Just that, and that's everything. That daily start out where you have your time. I don't touch my phone. I don't do anything around that, and have my time to be able to personally grow into the person I need to become.
And do you even do that when you're traveling too? Like you've managed every day, so no excuse.
No excuse.
Yeah. That,
six days a week for the 4:20 wake up.
Yeah.
Seventh day I sleep in a little bit, but I still read. I still listen to audio. I still do meditation. I still do all of the above 7 days a week. It's an obsession. It's kind of like food.
Yeah. So was all of this derived from the MS, that when you started shifting, that was that your turning point, shifting things around, or at which point did you said, you know what, I need more of this, and I got to be obsessed with all of the things that I'm doing right now?
So probably about 3 to 4 years ago, where I was at in my business, I was super frustrated, and I wasn't excited with the results. I wasn't excited with the people I was attracting, none of it. And someone said to me, you attract who you are. And that really made me think. And then someone else said, you need to obsess, that was successful, follow the successful people. And they said, hey, this is what you need to do every day. And so finally one day I just decided, and it all starts with a decision. that I would just do it every day and see what it did for me and for my business. And
Yeah.
it's completely changed my life.
No, that's awesome. And I tell people that the decisions and choices we make today will determine the quality of life that we're gonna have tomorrow, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we always gotta be able to look at what we're deciding, because as you said, it's all based on the decision. The challenge that I see too, though, is that people think that the decision is the hard part, and it's actually, in my opinion, it's not. The deciding is simple, it's easy. What is probably a little bit challenging or a little bit not so easy is the after fact, the aftermath, right? The actions that you have to do once you make the decision. And unfortunately, though, I feel like people focus so much on the decision that they forget about the aftermath, because they're saying, well, if I decide to do this, that's kind of scary. And again, that is not. Is the easiest part. Once you make the decision, now you got to get to work. Now, unconsciously, you made the decision. Now do the things you have to do to make that work for you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I think, even I think it was Jim Rohn that talks about, even if you make a decision that's a wrong decision, well, right away change that and go into a positive, or change the decision to something different. Don't get stuck on that for years and years to come, right? And that's what people do. They make the decision and they say, well, I made a decision, I got to live with it. No, you can make that change again and make a different decision, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
um
totally.
One of the things that you were talking about, and I forget who said it. I don't know if it was Jim Brown or Les Brown. He said, for things to change, you have to change, right? And so you did the same thing. It's like, at this point, it's like, if I'm not getting the results that I want, I'm not getting the things that I want, then I need to start making those changes. And a lot of times it starts with you, right? Those changes starts with you doing that. And I always tell people that make sure that you're working harder on yourself than you do on anybody else. And sometimes we forget that, and we're working harder for somebody else than we do in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, 100%.
So, Angela, my last question for you is, you've given us a lot of great nuggets and so on. If people are going through some sort of challenge, whatever the challenge that might be, what is one thing that you can tell our viewers and listeners that they can start doing now to overcome that challenge?
That's a great question. One thing, realize that it's there for a purpose, and there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So every day you're getting closer to the light at the end of the tunnel. So sometimes it might be one moment at a time that you have to get through. Sometimes it's a day at a time. Sometimes it's a second at a time. But just know that, just go through that one moment. You can break down in a moment. You can break down in a day. I always used to tell myself, tomorrow I'll sleep in. Tomorrow I'll not do this stuff. And then tomorrow would come and I'd say, tomorrow I won't. And I just did that time and time again until it became a habit. So just work yourself through one moment at a time, and then give yourself grace when you do have those breakdowns or those down moments and backslides and whatever else you want to call them, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. 100%.
Yeah, so it's that perseverance. You just got to keep pushing forward and just marching forward. So yeah, definitely. Well, Angela, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Anything else before I let you go that you want to share with our people?
I guess just the last thing would be like I said, you're here for a purpose. And the more you can step into your purpose, the more your struggles won't matter as much, because you'll be there to help other people's struggles. Thank you so much for having me on this.
Yeah, I love that. And definitely, that idea there too is when you're at service and you're helping other people, you're helping yourself in multiple ways. And so that's amazing. I love that. So Angela, thank you so much for being here. And for the rest of you guys, please do me a favor. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment on this podcast, and stay tuned for the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Have a good day. Bye.
Hi, I'm CesarRespino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.